Hey everybody, welcome back to some more live coding. Today, the agenda is Django REST framework. Now, Django, if you're not already familiar, is a Python web framework, and the Django REST framework is a module, a third-party module that's built on top of Django that lets you build REST frameworks. I've never worked with it, so the goal is going to be to figure out how to implement a simple REST API app, and then we're going to look at adding authentication, and then we'll check out maybe exploring OAuth 2 login, social login. And the end goal is we'll build a backend for the GPS bookmarker. So last night I did some React Native, and one of the apps that we built last night was a GPS bookmarker for your phone. You basically push a button and it saves your GPS location, and it stores it all locally on the phone, but it would be cool if we had an API that we could send everything to and store it there. So that's going to be the goal for the demo app for learning Django REST framework. So the agenda, the goal is going to be to learn Django REST framework, and this is our route and our plan to get there. And so here we're going to want to protect certain endpoints, allow some anonymous endpoints. Okay, so that's a high level. Hey Shrewsbury Dev, welcome. Glad you could make it too. So Django REST framework. This is the home page, and I guess before we even get started, we might as well start up a quick Django project. So I should have Django admin. I should have, yeah. So if you do a pip install Django, you should get the Django admin program. I'm not sure if you can invoke it like this with the -m Django admin. It is a script. Yeah, it looks like that's the only way to do it. So we'll do Django admin start project, and we'll call it dr. What should we call it? Django REST. Here, let's do like this. Django REST API example. Aw, only letters and underscores? Okay, we'll do underscores. Oh no, you know what? It's actually going to use this for some of the code, so we'll call it GPS bookmarker API. We'll go with that. How's that? Naming is hard, but that encapsulates what we're doing, right? It's the API for the GPS bookmarker. Okay, so now we've got our Django project. I'm going to go ahead and open it up in PyCharm. And while we're waiting for that to load, we'll go ahead and check out the web page. So they say Django REST framework is a powerful and flexible toolkit for building web APIs. Some reasons you might want to use REST framework. One of them is the web browsable API, and oh yeah, so they have an example here. So this is something you get out of the box should you choose to turn it on, and it's basically a totally interactive API explorer and documentation in one. So this does make it very easy for people to understand and test and see examples of your API. So that's going to be a big reason I want to use it too. So that's cool. I'm going to want that. Authentication policies, including OAuth 2. That's going to be a big one too, because I would like to add social authentication, like login with GitHub, and that'll allow that. Serialization that supports ORM, that's good. We're going to want that. That's some basic stuff though. Customizable all the way down. Extensive documentation. And used by some big companies. Okay, so let's try installation. Let's see, is PyCharm open yet? Yeah, let's go ahead and open our project. GPS bookmarker API, that's the one we want. The tip of the day is use Control-Shift F7 to quickly highlight usages. Oh. Yeah, so you can also do right-click. You can right-click on any variable or function, and you can see, you can say find usages, and it'll show you everywhere it's used in your project. It can be handy if you're trying to do some refactoring, and you're not sure where it's used or how often it's used. Let's see. I want to create a new virtual environment, so I'm going to go to File Settings, Project Interpreter. I'm going to go over to the wheel. I'm going to say Add. I want to add a new environment. Yes, in my project, in the VM directory using Python 3.6. That looks good. Yes, please. Okay. So while we're here, why don't we install Django into this virtual environment? Install package. And we also want, what else? Django REST framework. Markdown support for the browsable API. That's probably for adding extra documentation, so that's cool, I want that. And filtering support. So yeah, let's go ahead and add those. So it was what, Django REST framework. There it is. Yep, we'll install that one. And the other one was Django filters. Yeah, we'll add Django filters. And the other one was Markdown. What is going on? Oh no! Well, I hit escape too many times. Okay, plus, and let's add Markdown. Okay. Hold on a second. I need to switch now. Oh, did it ever finish? Show all. Did it ever finish making it? Oh. I have to do it again real quick. Okay, there we go. And we just need to add one more, which is Markdown. Okay. It looks like we've installed the dependencies we need, including the optional ones. And then in our installed apps in the settings file, so let's go to install all. Okay, so these are all the default ones, and it wants us to add an app called REST Framework. Okay. So we've just added REST Framework. If you're intending to use the browsable API, you'll also want to add REST Framework's login and logout views. Add the following to your root urls.py. Okay. So URLs. Okay, so the default one there is the admin one. So we're gonna add a regular expression for. I'm gonna do API/auth. That's how I want to do it. And we'll add, what is it? Include REST framework.urls. And we need to import include, so we'll do Alt-Enter, import this name, and we want the Django URLs include. Okay, so that looks good. So that will map this path to this URLs file, and if you control click on it, we can go into it and we see that it provides two URL patterns, log in and log out. Okay, so nothing special, just log in and log out. So we can, I guess we can try running it. It's probably going to tell us we need to do at least, yeah, hold on, we're going to have to do a migrate. We need to set up the database, so we'll do python manage.py migrate. Okay, now our database should have everything it needs. And let's also python manage.py create superuser. And I'll go with nanodano and a password. Password's too common. That's okay. Okay, so now if we start it up again, we should be able. Okay, yeah, there's no home page, so that's fine. But if we go to API/auth, again, that should not route anywhere. But if we do /login, there we go. We get the Django REST framework bootstrap themed login, and I should be able to log in with my superuser account. Okay, so it did, but it tried to forward me to /accounts/profile, which doesn't exist. So we will have to figure out how to override that. Let's see. If we go to the login, there should be some kind of variable called after login redirect, something like that. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. So we're doing okay so far. We've got the thing installed and we've got our login page there. There should be also a log out. So we'll try log out. It just sends you to the regular logout page. Yeah, it sends you right to the admin logout page. So that's the only thing special there is their theming of the login page. That's the only thing special about this login page as opposed to the regular default one that Django provides you. It's just themed nicely. It says Django REST framework. Okay, so that's cool. Let's go back to the install instructions. Example. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at a quick example of using REST framework to build a simple model-backed API. And again, our end goal here is going to be build a simple API backend that we could use for a web app and a mobile app and a desktop app, whatever we want to do with it. And people can use it as an API. So that's the beauty of having just the REST API backend, is it completely decouples your front end, and you're free to make a React front end, a React Native mobile app, a desktop app, a shell script, whatever you want to do. So it's going to be really nice once we get it squared away. We'll create a read-write API for accessing information on users of our project. Any global settings for a REST framework API are kept in a single configuration file named REST framework. Okay. Start off by adding the following to your settings.py. REST framework. Okay, let's go to our settings. And we'll add this way down at the bottom. Okay, so all of their stuff goes inside this one big dictionary. So REST framework. Okay, so by default, we tell it to use the permissions, the normal permissions of Django, or allow read-only access for unauthenticated. Okay, so it just uses the model permissions, the Django model permissions, or a non-read-only. So I wonder, we can probably dig into this code here and see what the other ones are. So we'll go to live, site packages, Django REST framework, and we want permissions. Oh no, it's a wheel. It's like a compiled wheel, so we can't really look into it, I think. Okay, anyway, we can check up the documentation on that later if we need to. Don't forget to make sure you've also added REST framework to your installed apps. Yeah, we did that. We're ready to create our API now. Here's our project's root urls.py module. Wait. Interesting. They just dropped the code right into the URLs file. Now, I suppose just for experimenting, that's totally fine. But that's definitely not how I would do it in a production app. Okay. So what are they doing? They create a serializer to define how they're going to return the data. I guess you want to choose which fields you want to return. You don't want it to return everything in your database. Okay, so that defines what fields you send back, user serializer. And then a view set defines the view behavior. User view set inherits from a model view set. I wonder if view set is a generic term for read, write, update, delete, and all that, or if that means view, like read only. I'm guessing that's all of them. We'll find out. Okay, and you can just register your view set. Okay. I think I see why they're doing it all here, because it's kind of tied to the routing. You can now open the API in your browser and view your new user's API. Let's try it out. They dropped that right into URLs, so let's make a bunch of space here. Paste that in and kind of look at this. So a user serializer. We'll go ahead and import the REST framework serializers. We want to import user, which is coming from, yeah, there. We need to include view sets, yep, and routers from REST framework. There we go. Okay, so we can move these way up here. Okay, so we got a serializer, and then a view set, and then the route. Now wait a second. How does this router play with our URL patterns? Did they have to namespace equals REST framework? They didn't tell me to do that earlier. Let me try it out. So in the auth one they added namespace. Is that even right? Is that like a Django 1 thing? Well, we'll try it out. So if we go back in our browser now and we refresh, yeah, okay, so it's erroring out. It's probably saying, yeah, no idea what you mean by namespace. That is a weird, I don't know why that's there. I've never seen the namespace. I see name. Okay, so now we can go to API auth login again and try that out. Okay, so that's there. Now what was it, /users? So if we go to /users, no. Yeah, I'm a little confused how that router plays in, so let's check this out. Don't forget to make sure you've also added REST framework. Yeah, we did that, okay. We're ready to create our APIs now. Here's our project URLs. Okay, so they got the user serializer, the view set. Routers provide an easy way of automatically determining the URL conf. So they create the router, and then they register the view set. Oh, there it is. I see it. It's in the URL patterns. You're including router.urls. So that's going to generate, that router is going to generate. So we'll do, if you hit /API, and we'll put this one after, because they do match in order, I believe. So if it hits here, we can say include router.urls. Okay, so now if we go back and we go back to just API, yeah, so now it's including the router, which is including, now earlier it said if you want to use the browsable API, you need login and log out. Okay, so we had log in and log out. We can see up in the top right, I'm logged in as NanoDano, which is great. We can log out. Can we? Yeah, okay, and then it sends us back here. We can log back in, and we're back here. So this is our browsable REST API, and we've registered one model, and that's the default user model. So we basically created an API to return the user. So we're at API, and it's basically telling us here's what's available, users. So if we click on that, we'll go to the users one, and we'll see, because we're logged in, it's returning my user information. So let me try this. I'm going to go into the terminal and I'm going to create another one. I'm going to do python manage.py create super user, and I'm going to call this one someone else. Okay, now I want to see if they show up here. Yeah, they do. So I'm an admin right now. I got a question from Jeff Williams who says, so I do enjoy all the topics you have done, but I have a question. Do you think you will jump on Rust again? And yes, the answer is definitely yes. One thing I was interested in doing was writing Python modules in Rust. So maybe writing some high performance or low level memory management stuff in Rust to make Python modules. I think that'd be an interesting test. Last time I did some making C modules, combining it with C modules. Okay, so we've got this user list, and I'm an admin, that's why I can see all this stuff. So let me actually try and log in as this other user. Oh, well, they're a super admin too. Well, I can change that. Let me go into the database, and let me drag over my SQLite DB over here. We'll go in, we'll find the user, and we will just uncheck his super user and then commit. I guess it automatically committed. And his staff, we'll uncheck that is too. Okay, so now if I log in, oh wait, it's totally public. So I'm not even logged in and I can actually see, oops, the whole API. So the API is totally open right now, and everything is completely public. And if we wait, yeah, there we go, commit. And now if I refresh this, his staff should stay false. Yeah, false, okay. Cool, and it tells us we've got get, post, head options. These are the options. It tells us it renders either HTML or JSON. Oh, so I bet if we just add .json at the end, I'll have to get rid of the slash. There we go. So if you just say /users, you will get the HTML version, the browsable one. If you do users.json, then you get the JSON. Now I bet, let's see if it does XML. Does it do XML? No, it doesn't look like it does. Okay, well that's good to know. That's very cool. Very intuitive, I like that. That's how Reddit does their API. You just tack on a .json to whatever page you want. Okay, so it's all public. Now we need to figure out how to add authentication to it. So let's go back to the tutorial. I bet that's probably one of the next things they talk about. Okay, so yeah, we added the user serializer, and that tells it what fields to pull, and we pulled safe ones, relatively speaking. We didn't pull the password hash, but, you know, so that's good. And we can view it. Okay, so what's next? You can now open the API and view it. Yeah, we just did that and checked it all out. It's very, very good looking. Okay, can't wait to get started. I thought we just did. The quick start guide is the fastest way to get up and running. I thought we just did. Okay, I guess that's the last step for us, is the quick start. We're going to create a simple API to allow admin users to view and edit the users and groups in the system. Okay, so this is probably going to talk about the what's it called? The permissions. So I'm going to create a README now, and I want to start taking some notes before I forget too much. So bookmarker API. So this is going to be a simple reference implementation of a Django REST framework application. And I guess we need a requirements.txt that would help. Requirements.txt, so that's going to be Django, Django REST framework, Django filters, Markdown. Yes, those are the only ones we installed. So that should be fine for now. That's just going to help us in the future. Okay, simple reference implementation. I guess that's it for now. I just wanted to kind of log how we got where we are. We did those. The project layout should look like this. Oh, yeah, okay. So we pretty much did all this. So yeah, it's walking through the serializer, it's walking through the user view set. Okay, now how do they add the authentication? That's the real question. Because this is all stuff we've already seen. Pagination? Yeah, that's actually a really nice feature, because that can be a little complicated and annoying to set up and get right. And there's also, I think you can do rate limiting. You can do rate limiting and all kinds of control over it, so it offers a lot of features that you would need. Okay, so you can set the pagination. Let's see. Why not? Even if those are the defaults or not, let's add them here. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do a page size of 25. Okay, settings. We already added it. Yeah, we did that already. Testing it. Yeah, we already tested it too. Or use HTTPy. No, wait, what kind of auth did they add? They didn't add any kind of auth yet. But then why are they passing the username and password? Let me see. Auth will authenticate as that user later. Let's see. They're not checking the authentication anywhere. Okay. Settings, testing. Interesting. So, why? So in their example here, they're actually passing the credentials, but they're not checking them anywhere. So they have all the same settings we did, and we just saw that it's definitely not credentialed. Now, did they turn on an auth setting somewhere that I skipped over? I'm going through it now to check, but I don't think they did. Yeah, they created the user, but yeah, there's something missing here. Unless Oh, I guess what did we set? We set read-only by default. So hold on. If we go back into the settings... Okay, so why don't we try a different one? There's probably Django model permissions. Boom. Like that? That will probably lock us out. So let's try it now. Okay, let's go to /API. Users. There we go. Authentication credentials were not provided. Perfect. Okay, so, or a non-read only. So, I think we'll go with the more locked down one by default. And if we want to expose ones to be anonymous, we'll do that with a decorator or something on those specifically. But we'll go with the more secure option. Okay, so now we'll have to log in, and then we should get the users. Yeah, that's better. Oh, and there's a form at the bottom. So we can actually host a new user. Will it let us? Enter a valid email address. Okay. That was valid enough? How's this one? A user with that name already exists? Oh man. My keyboard spam is too predictable. There we go. Look, it created a new user. Okay, so let me try something. What if I set super user, or what is it? Is super user? So if I set that manually, I'm an admin, so theoretically I should have the privileges to do this. But I'm curious, since it's not in the serializer, is it going to completely omit it? It should. For security reasons, it should completely omit that, since it's not in the serializer. Oh, but I guess I should give it actually a username and an email first. Okay, moment of truth. Expecting... Oh. Did I just flub the code? Okay, and then post expecting comma delimiter. Oops. That one worked. Okay, that one worked, and it went through with the is super user. Let's see if it actually modified the database. It did not. Confirm. It did not. That is good. That is a good thing. So the serializer... It looks like the serializer works two ways. Where is it? Where is it? URLs. So this serializer is basically the one that says these are the fields that are allowed to go through. And it's not just when people read. That's not just what they get back. It's also the ones that are going in, it looks like. So we'll find out if that's true or not later on, but that appears to be the case right now. So that's good, good, good. Let's keep going here. Okay. So, yeah, why not? We'll put in the group one too. So there's a... These are the default groups provided by the Django contributed auth module. User and group, those are the ones that are just part of the core package, so nothing too special about them. So there's going to need to be a group. Yeah, so those look pretty much the same. So we'll try this. We're just going to duplicate. And this is actually going to be group, since we're doing the groups, not the users. And we're actually going to grab group.objects.all. And the serializer class is going to be this one we just created up here, the group serializer. And we're going to have to update the router to include those routes. So we'll duplicate this too and say register groups to our group view set, and that should do it. So let's go back to just the... Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, let's go to our API root, and now it shows us there's two API endpoints. users and groups. There's the users one, and we see the pagination information up at the top. Next and previous would point to the next and previous page if there were more. In this case, there's not. And the groups should look the same too. Okay, there's no groups. So if we go to /admin, this is the default Django admin portal. And we can confirm that there's no groups, and that's why nothing showed up there. And here's all our users. And so why don't we add a group here? And so we're just going to call this basic user, and we'll give them core can access site. Oh wait, where is it? Admin auth content types. I thought there was one called can view site. Oh well, we'll just make that group for now. So now if we go back, we should be able to go to /API and confirm that we see one group now. Okay. And we can go specifically to that group and learn more about that group. And we can even update it here if we want. Okay, cool. So all that's working really good. And now it's protected by authentication. And let me try something, because we stripped this one user of the admin rights. So let's try logging in as that low privilege user. And what do we see? Okay, so even with the low privilege user, we see these. Okay, so we'll have to figure out how to lock down those to a specific group. Okay, so we looked at how to add the authentication. But yeah, we want to figure out how to override the default of just basically allowing everybody that's logged in to look around and blocking all anonymous. We want to make some endpoints anonymous, and we also want to protect some endpoints to higher privileged users. So how do we do that? Let's continue. Let's finish through here first. So we already did all this pagination settings testing, user list. Yeah, if you're working through the browser, make sure you log in. Great, that was easy. Yes, actually it was. If you want to get a more in-depth understanding of how the REST framework fits together, head on over to the tutorial. It's so funny because it's like, okay, the tutorial, well, I thought we just did the tutorial. And when we were on the other page, they were like, okay, go to quick start after we thought we finished the quick start. So they just keep surprising me. I wonder after the tutorial if they're going to tell me to go to the getting started page. Oh, so they've got, oh geez, this is like a for real tutorial now. This is like the whole book. This whole section's on serializers. Oh, I guess that's just the page. Yeah, so then they got a whole section on request and response. Give me the table of contents. Okay. Serialization, request and response class-based views. Yeah, I'm interested in authentication and permissions. Currently, our API doesn't have any restrictions. This is tutorial 4, and they're not that long. Maybe we should just breeze through these. How many do they have in total? 7? So we can either go through specifically what we need, or we can kind of breeze through all 7 sections. What do you think? I think I'd like to get a pretty thorough understanding, so I'll go through these real quick. I'm not gonna spend too much time on them, I hope. And hopefully I can at least get to number 4, so I can check out the authentication, and then I think by there I'll have everything I need to do for the night. Then we'll see how it looks then. Or maybe then we'll skip over to the social auth. Okay. And we'll also say checking user permission roles. Okay, so serialization. In this tutorial, We'll cover creating a simple paste bin, code highlighting web API. No, I don't want to do that because I already have a project in mind. So I'm just going to look through it and I'm going to see if there's anything new that is relevant. Creating a serializer class? Yeah, see, we already saw a serializer class. Okay, so it looks just like a model. You got the same kind of fields that you would have on a model. And you've even got templates. Interesting. Okay. Okay, working with serializers. Yeah, see, I don't think I need... I don't think I need this advanced usage of a serializer at this point. Yeah, model serializer. I think that's what we're using right now. Oh no, it's a hyperlinked model serializer. But that one looks a lot cleaner. You just tell it what model you want and the fields. I see. So a serializer doesn't have to be tied to a model. That's why they were defining all of those fields in their serializer themselves. Model serializer is probably the only kind I'll really need. Okay, writing regular Django views using our serializer. Yeah, so you can just return the serialized data from a normal endpoint. That's fine. Okay, so... Okay, we can go on to the next section. Requests and response. Okay, so there's post and data, depending on which method's being used. Wrapping API views. REST framework provides 2 wrappers you can use to write API views. The API view decorator for working with function-based views, and the API class for working with class-based views. I generally prefer the class-based ones, because you can organize it a little better, and the different methods are defined cleaner. It's just a better way to organize it. So, yeah, this is what the function one looks like. Let's see if they have an example of the class. Oh, they don't. Okay, let's go back to the function one they made. So all they're doing is, yeah, they're just returning a response with the serializer data. So nothing special. I mean, it's not too different than just doing like a return JSON.dump string. Okay, similarly, we can control the format of the request that we send using content type header. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad we're breezing through these just to make sure there's not anything too critical that I'm missing. Tutorial 3, class-based views. Yeah, these are the ones that I prefer. We can also write our API views using class-based views rather than function-based views. As we'll see, this is a powerful pattern that allows us to reuse common functionality and helps us keep our code dry. Don't repeat yourself. Rewriting our API using class-based views. Yeah, so with a class-based view, you basically create a class for the endpoint, and then you define a method for each of the HTTP methods. So you have a get and a post, and you'd have a put and a patch and a delete, so that you're handling basically all the CRUD operations, and they're just separated into functions or methods inside the class. So yeah, you get them and you return the serialized data. If it's posted, you update, you check if it's valid, then you save, and then you just return the updated data. Okay, that's all pretty straightforward. So far so good. It looks pretty similar to the previous case, but we've got better separation between the different HTTP methods. We'll also need to update the instance view in views.py. So far so good. It looks pretty similar to the previous case, but we've got better separation. Yeah, we just read that. Okay. That's fine. This is all pretty straightforward Django-esque stuff. They made the framework very similar to Django itself. They did a good job of doing that. So it feels very natural. If you're used to Django, it feels as if it's part of the Django ecosystem already, even though it's a separate module. Okay. So it looks like you can do basic list, create, retrieve, update, destroy. So these are some generic, like if you just have regular CRUD operations, you could probably use some of those. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to number 4. This was really the one that I wanted to get to. Authentication and permissions. Currently, our API doesn't have any restrictions on who can edit or delete code snippets. In our case, it is users. Well, before we go on to the auth, let's actually let's do what they did and let's make a view. Okay, let's see. We're going to have to python manage.py start app. Oh, and we're going to call it bookmarks. And so inside our bookmarks, we'll make a model, and that's going to be called a bookmark. Or technically it's a GPS bookmark. I think that's it. Yeah. And what do we need? Latitude, which is a char field, and we'll do alt enter import. Right, lat and longe, latitude and longitude. We'll just start with that, latitude and longitude. Okay, so we got a bookmark. Now we need to make a view, but we need to make. Let's go back. I need that reference. So, yeah, we need. What's the class called? API view? API view. Okay, so this is going to be called class bookmark view. Is that how they name it? It's close enough. API view. Now we need to import this coming from REST framework views, API view. So we're going to have a get. And I think the request also comes with it. Yeah, request and format. Okay. And so we'll just try get received for bookmark view. This will just be a little debug statement to help us make sure we're getting to the right place. And then, yeah, serializer.data. So we're going to have to make a quick model serializer. Bookmarks serializer. And create class. Okay, now let's refer to this other one we made. Serializers hyperlinked model serializer. Okay. And then did we... Oh, we had to give it the fields. And it was a tuple? Was it a tuple? Yeah, it's a tuple with the fields. Oh, and you got to give it the model and put it inside the meta subclass. Right, okay. Class meta, fields, and the model is bookmark. Okay, and fields, lat and lon. And actually, we'll want a... Interesting. I guess it's a user ID. So back in our model, let's actually make... oh, it's user. So user's going to be foreign key. And that's going to be user. And on delete equals models.doNothing. Okay. I think that'll do it. So we'll do python manage.py make migrations. Oh, I need to install my app. So we're gonna go up to the top and say install bookmarks. Okay, now if we do make migrations, oh, hold on. I should not have called the parentheses there. Okay. Okay, I think we've got everything we need. We've got our bookmark model, our bookmark view, our bookmark serializer. Okay, now we need to import the REST framework serializer. And down here we actually need to import REST framework response, and we actually need to say response serializer.data. But hold on, we need bookmark serializer. It needs objects. Snippets. Yeah, okay, yeah, so we actually give it many equals true. Okay, bookmarks many equals true. Okay, now we need to give it some bookmarks, so we'll say bookmarks equals bookmark.objects.all. Just pull all the bookmarks and send them back. Okay. And that's the only one we'll make. We'll just have a get. Read only for now. Okay, so if I go back here... oh, okay, I need to do one more thing. I need to go back to the URLs. And I need to router register my bookmark view. I guess I could call it a view set technically, and we'll call it bookmarks. Boom, that should break the app just fine. Let's go see what happens. Base name is not an argument. Now let's... Where exactly... Okay, expected type view set mixin? Hold on. View set, model view set... Let's see, what did I do here? API view? Oh, I have to do dot as view. I think that should do it. No? Closer. Now why can't it find that one? Let's try stopping and restarting now. Okay, it says base name argument could not automatically determine the name from the view set. Okay, that's coming from the new thing I added to the router. So let me see what they did to their URLs. Yeah, they did as view. Okay, so gotta track this down. Why is it... So if I comment that out, it should go back to working. Right? No, it's still broken? Stop, restart. Why does this keep saying... Yeah, so now it's working again. Okay, so now if we go back and we try and add in our bookmarks... I wonder if I have to implement the other methods for it to work. Yeah, it really just... What is it saying? Base name? Is that... Are they setting anything named base name? No, they're not. Base name argument not specified. It could not automatically determine the name from the view set as it does not have a .query set attribute. Hold on. I bet this is one that Stack Overflow will help with. Okay. Base name. Optionally, you may also specify an additional argument. Base name. Optional. The base to use for the URL names are created. No, that's not it. Okay. Note that if the view set does not include a query set attribute, then you must set base name. Now, what is the query set? The base name argument is used to specify the initial part of the view name pattern. Okay, so... like that? No, that... I get a different error now. Attribute function has no get extra actions. Now let's see. Do I still want to use that router? Or do I just query? Oh, there's the query set. Let me go back to my views. Now that was on the view. Serializer class. Now I wonder if I can leave this one out and it already has a default one. Okay, it's working better. Let's check it out. So I think I'll need to log in. Oh no, it didn't. Oh, I need to go back and register now. Let me try and register this now. Hold on. Now I don't need the base name. And it does not have a query. I do have a query set attribute. Did I put it on the wrong object? Bookmark view, query set. Let's see. Let's go back up and look at their example. See, they didn't set anything like that up here. Oh. Do I need to implement all of those different... Do I have to implement all of them for them to work? Let me just try one of these generic ones. Generics list create. Okay. Oh, it's still... What in the world is going on? Assert query set is not none. I definitely see a query set that's not none. Let's see. Yeah. Now what about their serializer? We'll take a moment to examine exactly what's happening here. We're using our view. We're building our view using a generic API view. Generic API view. And adding in list model and create model mix in. The base class provides the core functionality, and the mix-in classes provide the .list and .create actions. We're then explicitly binding the get and post methods to the appropriate actions. List, create, okay. Using generic class-based views. Yeah, that's what I want. Oh, let's see, did I, maybe it has something to do with that user. Maybe I didn't migrate since I made the new user. Make migrations. Oh, it won't even let me do the migrations. It really doesn't like my view. Maybe... Yeah, let's try removing that user ID. Oh, and the long, that's a typo too. Okay. And back in urls.py, we've got bookmarks, bookmark view as view. Okay, so it's giving me the same thing on the command line when I try and run. Base name argument not specified. I'm missing what I'm not doing here. Base name. So I made a model serializer using model serializers. Yeah, we did. So models. I guess we could try just model serializer. Just to be safe, we'll do model serializer like they did. Give it the model, give it the fields. Fields. Tuple, yeah. Maybe we should try doing a simple... Shoot, yeah, maybe we should just do a function-based one first, just to get this thing working. Okay, so we're going to do csurf exempt so that it can post the form, and we're just going to do list bookmarks, And if methods get, we're gonna say sure bookmarks equals. I guess we can copy this part. Okay. So we got bookmarks equals bookmark object all. Serializer equals bookmark serializer many true. Okay, in this case we're gonna send a JSON response, which is fine. Okay, so now if we go back to URLs, how do they wrap that up? Yeah, just directly. Okay, but they don't use the router, they just use the URL patterns. And actually, that's what I was wondering. Maybe what I should have been doing actually is like this, and done bookmark view as view here. So I'm actually going to try that out real quick, just as like a sanity check before I do this. Okay, so I've got the bookmark view, but I'm using now the URL patterns instead. Uh-oh. That worked. Right? Oh no, see, it's not registering it here, and that's the problem. I do want it there. Yeah, I don't want bookmark. Do I need to actually run python manage.py migrate? I guess I did. Oh, so that is giving me the endpoint. Okay, now how do I get that back on this register? I mean, that was close, right? So what if I do like this? Router.register. I don't think that's gonna work. I tried it earlier. Yeah, it barfs when I do that, and I was trying to figure out why. No base name. Okay, so this one kinda works. Now, let me go back to theirs here. Okay, so this is their URL patterns. Yeah, they're doing it in the URL patterns. They're putting it in the URL patterns, but then it doesn't show up. Then it doesn't show up in that list. Now what's the deal with that? Okay, so if we go back to our app, /API, see, it doesn't show the bookmarks listed. But if we go to /bookmarks, oh, I changed it to API/bookmarks. So then we actually see it. It even understands. Now, why? Hold on, let's go back here. Now, how did they never use register anywhere in this example? Even with the class-based views, they never use register. But if you don't register, let me try something. This is going to be the bookmark view set. It's going to have the query set and the bookmark serializer. Okay, this is all getting commented out. And in the routing, I'm going to go back to this. But bookmark view set. Okay. Okay, let's see if this one works. So we go to /API, and there it is. Now it shows up in our list, and it works pretty much as expected. And it's something about the view set versus this API view. I'll have to figure that out. It's all of this specific terminology for their stuff's a bit overwhelming. But I think that'll work okay. I can control the serializer. Let me add this user stuff back. And so in the serializer, I'm going to put user. And now I need to do a migrate, make migrations, and a migrate. No, wait a second, that should have been a user. That should have been a difference. Okay. Oh, there's no bookmarks. Let me make one real quick. Let me go to /admin. We have to add Django admin model register. We need to add admin, here we go. Admin site register bookmark. That should do it. Bookmarks, there we go. Now we can add a bookmark. We'll tie it to my user. Interesting. Now where's the other fields? How come those character fields aren't there? Is it because there's no max length? Make migrations. No changes detected. Wrong. There's definitely some changes. Hold on a second. Let's just add a totally random field. Okay. Make migrations. Okay. Interesting. So that one shows up, but how come the character fields don't? Django char fields not showing up in admin? No, I know why. I know how to turn the whole thing on. Now, why are these fields not showing up? Are they actually in the database? So we'll refresh. Bookmarks, bookmark. No. Why is Django like completely ignoring those? What if... I mean, is there another field that... Will this one make any difference? Now it found them. Now it's there. Now they're there. That was really weird. My character fields are probably missing some values. I probably need some extra properties on the character field. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to create one, and did I? Did I even get around to that? Save. Okay. Now we've got a bookmark. Now if we go back, there we go, now we can actually see one. Okay. Now I want to log in with that other user. And okay, look, I can still see bookmarks. Now the plan is... lock out this low privilege user from the users. We're gonna say lock out low priv from users, and only allow your bookmark list. And here we'll say create one anonymous endpoint. I don't know, /help, how about that? Okay. So let's go back. We were just hitting section 4. And I wanted to create a new model so that we could have one that we could allow and disallow and play with. So now we can try the authentication and permission. Currently our API doesn't have any restriction. Excuse me, I need to take a drink of water. Okay. We'd like to have some more advanced behavior in order to make sure that code snippets are always associated with the creator. Okay, that's like what I just said. A person should only see their own bookmarks, not everybody else's. Only authenticated users may create snippets. Only the creator of a snippet may update or delete it. Authenticated requests should have full read-only access. Okay. So, one thing I want to check real quick. So, we had the book. Yeah, okay, so it's tied to a user, but when we output it here, okay, it just puts the ID. I was curious how it would represent this user object, and it's just the ID. Even though technically in here it stores the user ID, user underscore ID. It's just called user, so that's fine. Just wanted to know. Okay. So this looks fine. Oh nice, when you do the options it even tells you if you're going to do a post, this is exactly what type we expect for every field. And that's important if you want them to know we expect an integer. Or we expect a floating point number instead of a string. Okay, so now we are on section 4, adding information to our model. we're going to make a couple of changes to our snippet model class. First, let's add a couple of fields. One of those fields will be used to represent the user who created the code snippet. Okay, so we already did that. Yeah, we made a foreign key. What we didn't do was related name equals snippet, related name. We can add that. So we'll do related name equals bookmarks. And on delete, we'll go ahead and do the cascade too. What that's going to do is say if we delete the user, go ahead and delete all of the bookmarks for that user too. No need to keep the bookmarks if the user goes away. That field will delete. And here we'll say timestamp equals datetime field. Yep, there we go. So user, latitude, longitude, timestamp. And now we need to update our database. So we'll do make migrations and migrate. Oh, it didn't like my default. Okay, let's go check out our migrations. It didn't like my default for time.now. How about that? Will that work? What? Okay, will that work? Yeah, it will. Okay. I guess we could do this. Auto now add equals true. I guess that's the better way to do it. Okay. Now, whenever somebody creates an entry, it'll automatically set that timestamp. We don't even have to bother saying get now and set it, it'll just do it. Okay, so we added that user, we're good there. We also need to make sure that when the model is saved, that we populate the highlighted fields. No, we're not going to do that in ours. But if you do, I guess if you add a save function, you can hook into the save. We don't need to hook into the save, so that's okay. Adding endpoints for our user models. Now that we've got some users to work with, we'd better add representations to those users in our API. So they create a serializer. So what were they using before? Associating snippets with users. This is all fine. Here we go. Adding required permissions to views. Now that blah blah blah, now that they're associated with users, we want to make sure. Okay. Permission classes. Okay, here we go. Object level permissions. Really, we'd like things to be visible to anyone, but also make sure that only user can modify it. We're gonna have to make a custom permission. Permissions.py. Custom permission to only allow owners of an object to edit it. Is okay. Now how do we set that for a specific class? Oh, so on the snippet detail class? Now where's that? Okay, that's a generic. Geez, it's supposed to make things easier. Jury's still out on that one. It's very... It's interesting. It's a lot of work, but it might pay off, it might not. It might be like way over-engineered. But I really, really do like that browsable web API. And a lot of people speak very highly of this framework, so I think it's worth trudging through the painful beginning and learning how to use it better. Okay, so if you want to add permissions, you have to actually create a whole custom class that defines a function that checks the authorization. And I guess that's where you would check the ACL permissions. Because we now have a set of permissions on the API, we need to authenticate our request to it if we want to edit any snippets. Yeah, okay. We've now got a fairly fine-grained set of permissions. Okay. Do we? Do we? I feel like there's a lot of huge gaps in my knowledge right now. Even just going through these first 3 or 4 sections, I feel like there's some serious gap in my knowledge. Okay, so let's review real quick. We have the serializers, and we made a serializer here. That was pretty easy. We give it the model, and we tell it what fields we want. Okay, that one was pretty easy. Requests and responses. There wasn't even really anything too important there. Yeah, this one was really not very important. Number 3, okay, this is where I started to get a little confused, because remember we tried to get this API view to work, but we couldn't get it to work, even though it looked like I was following the instructions very well. This is where it started to get a little messy, and I had to fall back to this bookmark view set and using this model view set and just giving it the query set and the serializer class. And now I guess we can go ahead and look at the code for that. Oh, okay, so that one basically just pulls in all of these. A view set that provides a default create. Okay, so each one of these provides one method, it looks like. Interesting. Okay, so let's look at the create model mixin. Okay, that gives you the create function. Then it uses the serializer to protect. Okay, I like that actually. So we've got... That's where all these come from. So if we actually wanted to override any one of them, or... You know, I think what I would actually prefer is to just inherit them all myself like this. This actually makes... Well, at least for right now, until I understand what's going on, I'll do this. And I guess I'll have to do Alt-Enter, import REST framework mixins. There. So now, let's see, I don't... Yeah, those all look good. And then... Okay, so if we wanted to eliminate any one of those methods, we would get rid of it. Or if we wanted to override it, we could really just copy it over. And boom, just do just like that. Just straight up copy it over and then axe it out of the list and be like, boom, now we've got our own. Okay, so that actually helps a lot. That makes a lot more sense. Now the query set, that must be coming from this generic view set. It does not provide any action by default, but it does include the base set Okay, such as get query set. Okay, yeah. So query set and the serializer class. Okay, so the view set mixin. That's where we get our as view. Okay, that's fine. And what was the last one? Hold on, let me close all these other windows. It's starting to come together. I think by the end of the night I'll have a pretty solid understanding. But I'm pretty determined to wrap my head around all of this because I think once I finally get it, it will be incredibly powerful. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of where I want to go back. Well, I guess what I was trying to do is figure out, like, if I wanted to lock down specific functions, how will I do that if I'm just using the base class where everything's inherited? How will I set a specific class? So, let's see, we're at an hour and a half. I need to take a quick break. I'm going to grab a drink, give my back a stretch. I suggest if you guys have been sitting around for a while, give your eyes and your back a break, go stretch, grab a drink. I'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm back. So, right before I took a break, we had finished kind of reviewing section 3 and 4 of their guide, which is about class-based views and authentication. Now, I had a little bit of trouble in step 3. I got past it and started working on 4, but the gap of my knowledge in 3 is starting to cause an issue in the auth part. So I'm going to step back real quick and skim through this section again and try and get the other... I want to get the class-based view, the other one working. Well, actually, you know what? Now that I have this, let's go back to section 4 now that I understand what's going on better. We did figure out that what's really happening here is it's all these mix-ins. Each one of these mix-ins is creating one method. This is the create, read, update, all those. So let's see if we can lock those down with the permissions. So adding information to our model, we did that. So oops, let me clean out all these imports that we're not even using anymore. Okay, that's much cleaner. So I'm gonna make a file called Serializers, because technically this really isn't a view. Okay, so we'll do the importers, import. Okay. So now we've got views, and the actual views are in there. Serializer is in serializer. Models in models. Okay. So we've done this, we added the information. Okay, we can skip that part. So adding endpoints for our user model. Now that we've got some endpoints to work with, we better add representation of those to our API. Creating a new serializers is easy. Wait, we already did that. They're doing another one. Ooh, a primary key related field serializer? That's interesting. Class meta fields, okay. Because snippets is a reverse relationship on the user model, it will not be included by default when using the model serializer. So we need to add a field explicitly for it. I see. So what they're saying is, on the user model, so where's our user serializer? We built that one over here. Yeah, so in here what we need to say is the user's got bookmarks. So that uses a primary key related field, and the query set is bookmarks. Okay, now why are those highlighted? Unexpected argument? Is it? Let's try it. Let's go to our site /API. I'm gonna make a bookmark for that. There we go. So if we go to users, we should see the user's bookmarks. Let's see, uh-oh. Field bookmarks was declared, but not included in the fields. Okay, so bookmarks. Like that. Like that. Okay, it says bookmarks 1. Interesting. So that must just be the ID? The ID of the bookmark. So yeah, if we made another one, let's go make another one just to verify that is the ID. So we'll go into bookmarks, we'll make a second bookmark, we'll attach it to a different user, and then we'll go back here, and yeah, so this user has bookmarks of 1, ID 1, this user has bookmarks 2, and just to quadruple check and make sure we understand, yeah, we'll see, yep, so there's 1, this person has ID 2, and 3 of bookmarks. Okay. Okay, so I see what's going on here. That's cool, very cool. Let's see. There's actually one thing I want to do. Django override user model. so far we've been using their user model, but we'll make one called local user. And again, we'll split this out into the proper files in a minute, but we'll literally just extend the abstract user. But for all of these, so look, we can do right-click, find usages, and that will show us like, oh, these are all the places it's being used. And so we can say, okay, ignore all the ones in the virtual environment, just the ones in our project. That is being used 3 times total. In the URLs and once in the bookmark. Okay, so that's fine. Now watch, we can do right-click, refactor, rename. Well, let's just do this. We want the local user instead. And in our bookmarks, where is it? In the models, yeah, it's a foreign key on local user. And the last thing is, so there's a settings. There's a settings.py settings you have to change to tell it if you want to override the user. I forget what it is. That's what I'm looking for. There it is, auth user model. Boom. So now in our settings.py, we'll say auth user model equals, oh, this is gonna be .urls.user, local user. We'll fix that later, but that should work. Actually, I wonder. Yeah, okay, let's try it. So I'm actually gonna wipe out all these migrations. Goodbye, migrations, because you need to, if you're doing that with the user, you need to do it at the beginning. Okay, so make migrations. App name. Okay, yeah. So let's do this. Python manage.py start app. Local users. Why not? Oh, it's really gonna complain for now. Oh, you can't import bookmark, you poor thing. Okay, so in this new app that we created called local users, we'll just throw that model in here. Okay, then we need to turn it on. In our apps at the top, we'll say turn on local users. Okay. So now we should be able to do that, and down here we can say it is local users. This one should be okay again. We just need to do the imports. Okay, I think that'll do it. Now I can migrate. Let's see. It's doing them in the wrong order. Migration admin initial is applied before its dependency. Local users. I might have to set a dependency in the migration. Yeah, let's see. I'm just gonna try and wipe these again. Okay. Let's try and make the migrations again. No, it still had a problem. Let's see, it doesn't like the way I'm doing it. And extending abstract user. Okay, so yeah, they're creating a class, overriding the abstract user, they're setting the auth user model. And that's it. Normally, I create a second model called profile and attach it to the user. But yeah, I thought I would try. Interesting. Maybe I shouldn't inherit abstract user and I should just do regular user. What if we do that? So let's wipe out the migrations again. Uh-oh. Field defines a relationship with model user, which has been swapped out. Update the relationship. Yeah, I did, didn't I? I don't know. Maybe I really should be using abstract user. Well, you know what? I really don't want to get hung up on this. Abstract base user? I really want to just figure out this authentication, authorization stuff. I don't know, maybe I'm just tired today, but for a framework that's supposed to make things easier, I can't tell if this is really going to make things easier or if this is just incredibly over-architected and unnecessary. Like, in the time it takes me to learn this, I probably could have just written all the endpoints I needed by hand. It might be, like, if you're dealing with dozens and dozens of models, I could see how this could be helpful. So we did this stuff. I guess I'm still a little fuzzy about, okay, list API view is just going to be the list. And retrieve, I guess, is... See, you'd think that retrieve would get one, and list would list all of them. But if you're doing retrieve one, why would it get all the objects? Shouldn't it just be get? So it's kind of confusing me. Yeah, see, user detail view, I guess it passes in that primary key value directly into the query. See, when it does a little too much for you, it starts to get even more difficult to understand. If it's doing too much for you, you don't know everything that's happening. updating our serializer. Adding required permissions to views. Okay, REST framework includes a number of permission classes that can be used. Yeah, and so we're using this. So in the settings, we set the default permission classes. And we looked at model permissions and model permissions or anonymous read-only. And you can make your own. They showed us how to make your own. Yeah, is owner or read-only. And you create one called has object permission. Authenticating with the API. So yeah, the authentications uses the normal authentication that Django does, but okay, so I guess the important method you implement in your permission class is called has object permission. And you have access to the request, which I guess gives you all of the user information. Okay, so let's see. What are the other sections in the tutorial? 5 is relationships and hyperlinked APIs. I think relationships is probably going to be pretty straightforward. View sets and routers. You know, maybe that's because that's where I was getting confused. The class-based view made sense to me, but it was trying to wire up the routing that started to break. So maybe if I read up on the view sets and routers, then the class-based views will make more sense, and the authentication too. So let's check this. So I thought that, and I was hoping it would be as easy as just like adding a decorator that said allow anonymous or require group this, but it looks like you have to do quite a bit more. Okay, refactoring to use view sets. So what am I using now? I'm using generic view set. I'm using a generic view set right now. Excuse me, I need some water. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I'm gonna put on a different music playlist. Let's try Synthwave. Okay. So, let's see. Let's kind of review what the end goal was, because I feel like I'm getting a little off track to the goal. Yeah, so I thought I'd try and go through the tutorial sections, but it really ended up opening more questions than giving answers. So, yeah, what I wanted to... They showed me how to set... the global permissions. In your settings, you can set the permission class. But in this one, let's see, authentication and permissions. So how do you set it on a specific endpoint? Adding endpoints, okay. Associating snippets, updating the serializer, adding login, object level permissions, okay. Okay, they create the class. Okay, now where do they apply this permission class? Permission classes equals... Okay. By editing the permission classes property on the view class. On the snippet detail view class. And they don't show you which class is the snippet detail view inheriting from. Where was the creation of the snippet detail view that showed me what class it's inheriting from, so I know which one to put it in? Snippet detail view is pulling from API view. Okay. Okay, so you set the permissions on the class. On the view class. So if we were to look in our bookmarks view, like this is where we would set permission classes. There we go. Permission classes equals, and in this case it was object level permissions. Okay, yeah, you create a tuple and you give it the list of all the ones. Okay, so in this case we would say we can use the same ones that we pulled here. We'll just be extra explicit here. Okay, so that should still work exactly the same, but... Oh. All my user models are broken. Now how do I fix the local user? I still want to use the overrided user. I still want to, but... Okay, Django override abstract user. Yeah, so they say abstract user versus abstract base user. In both cases, we can subclass them. Abstract base user requires much more work. So we'll use abstract user, which actually subclasses blah blah blah. Okay. Auth user model, tell it, that's fine. Custom user. See, they're not doing anything. They're not. They're not doing anything special that I'm not doing. So it's just the migrations that was having problems. Yeah, admin 01 initial is applied before dependency. Oh, I know what's going on. So in the database, they actually keep track of the migrations. So if I go into Django migrations, we'll actually see that it thinks that all of these migrations have been run. Oops, I think I might need to... Okay, hold on. Okay, make migrations. Migrate. Django content type already exists. Oh. Yeah, let's just go ahead and wipe the whole database. That's probably why. Yeah, the table's already existed. It's not idempotent, so it's trying to recreate ones that already exist. So now we can do, we'll have to recreate the user real quick. Create super user. Okay. Okay. So now everything should be good. Now we've actually got a local user. And that makes me much happier. Much better. Now we can override if we want to add any custom fields, we can. Okay. And now everything's going to start using that local user. Let's see if that still works. Run, stop, go. Okay, try again. There we go. API still working. Check out the bookmarks. Base permission meta class is not iterable. It should just say authorization denied. Let's try it now. Okay, same thing. Oh, it's because we set... I know what it is. In... Where are we? The bookmarks. In the bookmarks views, where we set the permissions classes, we did not make it a tuple. That's why it couldn't iterate through it. Now it can iterate through it. Okay, so let's try logging out. And now we can, yeah, now authentication credentials were not provided. Authenticate, okay, cool. Okay, so I'll just comment that out and show that that is the default in case we want to override it. Okay. Okay, so this is looking good so far. And anybody who just joined, what we're doing right now is creating a backend API to support the GPS bookmarking app, the mobile app that we made yesterday. But the goal is really just to learn Django REST framework. And the project that I'm doing to learn that is implementing a simple backend for this bookmark app that we did. And... oh, I should still have it. Yeah, let me... I guess I'll build it in a little bit, and we can test it out, but check out the stream from yesterday if you want to learn more about that. And we did that yesterday in React Native, and it's because I built that mobile app in React Native, and I learned React to build web front ends, that I realized having the REST framework backend API totally detached from the front end would be the best route. That's why I want to learn the Django REST framework real well and build mobile apps and desktop apps and web apps and everything that work on top of API backends. Plus, because it has this really nice web browsable thing, it's really good for anybody who wants to consume it and build their own front end for your app. So, big win. I think it's going to be worth it once I figure out how to use it. I think it's going to be very beneficial into the future. But I will definitely give it a long, hard think about whether I should just use Flask and SQL Alchemy and return JSON myself, or use this. Like, I really do like some of the features it offers in regards to like throttling and rate limiting and everything else. So this seems incredibly mature, and I look forward to learning it some more. But we're going to keep going now. So I've got this endpoint for the bookmarks worked out for the most part. Now the next question is actually, so look, we can actually create a new one down here. They even give us a form, and that's really cool. And we even get the drop down for the user. And so admins get this. So now we can see if we re-get using the front end tools, we actually see the multiple bookmarks for this user and all this. So this is all looking good, but we want to lock it down a little more. And so like they said, okay, they created one called is owner only. And so in the views, we should probably do the same thing. We'll say, now they did both of them, so I guess it runs them in order. Is that how it works? So is it going to require all of these? I guess we'll find out. I'll add a more specific one at the end, and we'll actually make the same one. So here's what they did: permissions dot basic permission. Is that right? No. Permissions dot basic permission. Base permission, not basic. Okay, and then inside of it, I guess that is the special method. It's called has object permission. And just to confirm, yeah, has permission, has object permission. So a base class from which all permission classes should inherit has permission. Return true if permission is granted. Interesting. Okay, so do I have to implement both of them? Is one more specific than the other? If I only implement has object permission, how does that work? Does that mean it can look at all of them, but it can't retrieve an individual one? Does it mean it can't write it, but it can read it? This is so... not enough. Not enough. Okay, let's see what it says here. Read permissions are allowed to any request. Okay, so they all default to read only at least. So we'll always allow get or head. If request method is safe methods, return true. No. I basically, yeah, I don't want any of that. I basically just want to say def has object permission. Request view objects. How's that? Okay. And we basically return object.owner. No, I guess we want it's going to be object.user, because technically it's going to be our bookmark. Our bookmark is going to be the object. Now why is it red? Oh, I need to indent it. Okay. So just to be real explicit, we'll say owns object equals that. And we'll say return owns object. That's going to be a true or false. Has object permission. So it's true if they own it, false if they don't. And then here we'll say is owner for read only. No, actually we're just going to say is owner only. Is owner only. Actually we'll say owner only. That's the permission. Owner only. We'll see how that locks it down. Unresolved attribute user for HTTP request. We'll try it out. Yep, okay. API bookmarks. Wait. Well, I'm a super admin. So I guess I should... Oh, and I am the owner. So I guess I need to go make a user real quick. Make a user called blah 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 blah. Okay, so now we have a new user. They took that bookmark. Wait. Yeah, they did. So now I can see ones that don't belong to me. I created the user the wrong way, though. Okay. Let me go into the user database. Oh, local users, local user. Okay, let's try this. Let's try logging in as this user. Yes. Okay, so if I go to bookmarks, okay, I see one that shouldn't belong to me. I see one that does not belong to me in the results. And it lets me... Oh! Yeah, so see, it lets me list it, but it doesn't let me view it. Okay, so I think what that is saying is has object permissions is specific to the read one. So if we just say has permission, hold on, let's try this. Def has permission. Oh yeah, so see, it doesn't... You don't get the specific object in has permission. And because you don't have the specific object... Well, let me just try returning false. Yeah, so now that bans me from the listing page. No, I'm on a specific one. Okay, so now I'm on the listing, and now I'm on the specific ones, and it blocks me from all of them. So this one seems to override everything. I guess what I could do is... Well, I still don't have the object, so... what's in the view? What's actually in the view? Well, let me see. Let me return true. Always. Okay, so now I can view mine and the list, but I shouldn't even be able to see the list. So I wonder what's the best way to restrict the list. I guess the way to do that would be update the listing function. So what I would want to do is go into the view. Yeah, and this one here, the list model mix-in. That's the one that creates the list. Yeah, what I would want to do is override that filter set, I think. Oh, you know what I think I might be able to do that might be even better is if on the query set So in the views, I set the query set. What if I said filter where user equals request.user? Oh. Ooh, what do I not have access to it here? Oh, shoot. I thought maybe I could just filter it in the query set here. Maybe not. Okay, so I get the list, and I can access my own directly, but I can't access someone else's directly. But it doesn't matter because the list... So what if I just axe the list mode model mixin? Okay, so then I can't list anything at all. I can only access specifically my direct ones. Okay, so that's good. Now I wonder about those specific ones. What if I did... Yeah, what if I did... I don't want to get, I want like a delete. Well, let me try one. Now how do I do a delete on this page? Shouldn't I be able to do... Well, that stinks. This editor doesn't let me do the good stuff. I can only do gets? What's up with that? That's no fun. It only lets me do gets. Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, so we've learned a lot, actually. So we learned how to... Okay, let me try this one. Django REST framework. Limit list results to user. Filtering. The default behavior of REST's framework's generic list view is to return the entire query set. Yeah, that's what it's doing, and I don't want it to do that. Often you will want your API to restrict the items that are returned by a query set, yeah? The simplest way to filter the query set of any view that subclass's generic API view is to override the getQuerySet method. Filtering against the current user. Booyah, that's what I want. You might want to filter the query set to ensure that the results are only relevant to the current authenticated user. Making sure the requests that are returned. You can do so by filtering by request.user. But I see, so it's self.request.user. But that's a list API view. Does that work with my list model mixin? Now can I do, oops. So instead of all, I'll try filter and user equals self.request.user. Unresolved reference to self. Oh, I guess I will have to make it in a function. So what I'll do is def get query set. And then what we want to do is return the query set. Like that. And I guess we don't need to provide it as a property anymore. So let's try that now. Let's go back here. Uh-oh. Server crash. Why? Oh no. It still is saying you must give me the query set here. And I guess I'm still not clear on the view set versus the API view set. Let's try this. Okay, yeah, that worked. So that worked even though I provided like a base set, it still overrode. Oh, what if I just set it to none? That way there's like no confusion. The query set will just be none. No, it doesn't like that. Okay. But it is working, so like if I comment out that and just let it run again, then suddenly I start seeing the ones for other people. But it's interesting, I guess, because this is in a static context. I can't reference self there. And that's okay. Oh, well, maybe I could do... I wonder if I can do like this. I'm going to comment that out, and I'm going to do on the init, dunder init. Yeah, we'll add a class to the super, and then can I do like that? Can I set it there? And then I can have access to self. So let me do all that. Okay, now refresh. Is it going to say the same thing? Okay, let me try setting the query set before I call the parent constructor. No, it still doesn't like it. It still doesn't like that. So close. I feel like we got so close there. Okay, we'll just and then we'll set it back here. Okay, so now we should be back in business with init got unexpected keyword argument suffix. That's interesting. We don't need that, and we can get rid of it, but it's an interesting side effect. Okay, so now it is properly limiting to the user. That is, in the words of Raymond Hettinger, I think that's fantastic. If you've never seen that guy. He is a really good Python teacher and speaker. You should check out his stuff. I've learned a lot by watching his videos, his lectures. Okay, so we've got... Okay, here we go. So, there we go. We can say we've done that. We learned how to protect endpoints by setting the custom permission class, and we did that. Let's go take a look at that here, where you create the permission class. And in this case, everybody has permission to view, but the query set is going to do the work of protecting it. Okay. 1 second, I'm going to drink some water. So at this point, if you go to the users, let's see, if I go to the users, let's go back in as the admin. Yeah, so if we're on the user page, it actually has a form at the bottom for creating new ones. And if we go to bookmarks, same thing, but only if we're an admin. So I want to allow people to make their own ones, right? So on the create model mixin, what is the permission there? So how would I allow the low privilege user to create? Well, I guess, let's see, we did has has object permission. Now I'm curious, because we're basically saying they only have that if they are the owner. If you don't have any, you're not the owner of any. Oh, okay. No, I'm still the admin. Let me log out. Log in. Okay, so there's no create option at the bottom. What happens if we do the def has permission? And we just defaulted that to always true too. Okay, I still don't have the ability to create one. At least I don't have the form. I may actually have the ability to create one. Okay, I just wanted to see what would happen there. We'll go back to what we had. Okay, let's go back through this. Did I miss anything? Adding information to the model, adding endpoints for our user models. User list, user details. I see, so this is a whole view set. Now I don't understand which permissions are blocking the create and where I would add it, because I even added true to both of the, when I created the custom permission, I set them basically to all true, and I still didn't have access to create. Django REST framework, allow create. How permissions are determined. Permissions in REST are always defined as a list of permission classes. Before running the main body of the view, each permission in the list is checked. Each permission. If any permission fails, a permission denied exception will be raised. Okay, so the model permission. Okay, let me try something then. Since it's using the model permissions, then it's just using the regular permissions. So I can go to groups, I can add a group, and I'll call it, we'll call this one basic user. And on the left, we'll say bookmarks, can add bookmark. Bookmarks. Now it's not clear. Can view own bookmark? Can delete own bookmark? Can delete any bookmark? Or can delete your own bookmark? It's not clear. I guess we will find out if I'm allowed to modify one that doesn't belong to me. Okay, so I need to register my local user in the admin. So where is it? Local users, admin. And we're going to register local user. Now we've got our users, and I will add this user to the basic user group, which has that basic permission to edit and change bookmarks. Now let's log out. Let's go back. Let's log in as the low privilege user. Go back to bookmarks. Okay, we can see. And now we've got the ability to create. But yeah, so I was able to create one for someone that doesn't belong to me. Okay, so if we go to the list, I still only see mine. And I'd like to see the ID so that I can access it directly. So on our serializer, is it going to be the PK, the primary key, or is it going to be the ID? Yeah, it's the PK. I wonder if ID would work. I like ID so much better than PK. Yeah, it knows the difference. Okay, so now what if we do bookmarks /4? Then we can change it. That's fine. So can we change user 2 is me? Okay, yeah, so it's... Yeah, it's not letting me update the one that doesn't belong to me, but it let me create it. I think. Let me log in and verify. Yeah. I believe those were it. Buzzman Kunhoon says, yeah, bro, I'm learning this right now. Django REST framework, are you? Are you the one that had been asking recently, like how to hook up a mobile app, how to hook up an Android app to an API backend? That's pretty much exactly what I'm doing here. I made a mobile app last night that stores GPS bookmarks, and I'd like this to serve as a prototype, as a backend for a mobile app or a desktop app or whatever. And I'm really trying to sort my way through these permissions, but they're not very... I'm not happy with them, because like you really have to... It has all these weird cases, like, oh, it let me list everybody's, but not view them individually, and now it's letting me create them, but not modify them, so it's like I have to go through every case specifically and think about everything. I wish it had... Well, I mean, I guess you can set the default permissions to just deny everything. I guess that'd be the way to do it, but... the permissions has been a little wacky. Because it does default to read-only true for a lot of things, and I don't like that either. I'm still on the fence. I mean, it's my very first night looking at it, so... it's hard to give it a fair shake after one night, but... I'm not totally in love with it, I'll say that. Okay, so what's tutorial 5 section? Relationships and hyperlinked APIs, view sets and routers. Binding view sets to URLs. Okay, so this is how they do it. They do it in the URL patterns. They don't use the register. Oh, now, well, here it is. Register.userViewSet. Okay. Okay, so it's a combination right now of the default model permissions, because that's where I told it to. Okay, so I think it's just a matter of me actually getting the model permissions correct, and that's not on Django REST framework. So what else is in my agenda? So, okay, all the permission stuff I think I kind of get my head around. And in this case, we could basically just say, to allow anonymous endpoints, we could just create where is it? Create a permission called allow anybody. Class allow anyone. Like this. And then we can basically say def has permission. Return true. Def has object permission. Return true. I mean, that's how we would, if we wanted to give someone just like full control. But you wouldn't want to give them write permission. It's still fuzzy in my head, I have to admit. This is quite a framework. Quite a framework. Let's see. Okay, so checking user permission roles, that's happening all automatically right now. Okay, so I'm not gonna do the social login stuff tonight, and our end goal is still the same, but there's some problems. In particular, my user, the low privilege user, can create bookmarks for other people, even though they can't later view or modify them. So that's kind of an issue. And that seems like a flaw in these core. So like, if you go to the core permissions, look, they have bookmarks, can add bookmark, can change bookmark, can view bookmark, but they're too broad. Like, there's no can change your bookmark, so you have to go implement custom ones anyway. So, what would be the best way to do that? I'd have to say, when creating a bookmark, you can't even see the user. You know what? Maybe the way to do that is to not even serialize the user. If the only one that you're allowed to see is your own, then there's no point in explicitly saying who the user is. And if it's not in the serializer, then you can't create the user. So if I add it, yeah, I'll have to update the create on the model. Django model override create method. Oh, it's the save method, I think. Yeah, it's the save method. So in here is where I'd have to say, yeah, we still want to call the super on bookmark. Or would I say, yeah. And I basically say if, well, we would basically just always say user self.user equals request.user. Oh, it doesn't have the request. Is it under self? Wait, so where do you get the user info? Django model force save to user. Now, yeah, it's gonna be in the args. Where's the request? It's not anywhere. Django model save, access user. How do you access the request or the user in the save? See request.user, but how to associate model with current user while saving. Yeah. Save. Request save. Where's the request object? Is nowhere. Django save model. Is that a function? No. Hang on a second. The save model method is given the HTTP request. Is that right? Now do we have access to the request? We'll say self.user equals request.user. Can we save it there? Okay. Let's see, will that work? Now if we go back... Okay, if we go back here, we try and create it, will it automatically... No, it did not. It didn't do squat. Hello? Is that ever getting called? I don't think it is. Okay, fill it out. Yeah. Okay, so that's not it. Save isn't doing it. Now... Could it be on the create? Now where's the request coming from? Django create associate with user? Yeah, so I guess you won't. You'll have to override the functions anyway. This is the problem. This is the problem I have with so many frameworks. Is like they try and do so much stuff for you that when you really want to customize it, you really have to like crack the code and figure out how to unwork their framework. And it can really end up working against you. And that's what scares me about some frameworks that are really heavy-handed. And Django itself is already a pretty opinionated and full-featured framework. So let's see. We got pretty much through most of the important things that I wanted to for the night, to at least get the core understanding. Hey Mythic. Mythic says hello. We were looking at REST framework, and honestly I've been more frustrated with it than I have been happy with it. Maybe it's just a long night. Hey, we got a subscriber. Kaz just subscribed. Awesome. So yeah, we implemented a simple REST API. We figured out how to add the authentication and add the permissions and how to allow and protect, but it's still wonky because you've got a combination now of the model permissions and these classes and the query sets are doing so many of the views for you that you don't really have the fine-grained permissions on each one. The verdict tonight is I am gonna have to spend another long day with this before I can say this is good or bad. We'll see. Django allow only user create model. Yeah, so it's like, again, it's trying to do so much for me that it makes it harder for me to get the control that I want. I honestly have a feeling that this is not gonna be the framework I want to use. I had some high hopes for it. Kaz says, just subscribed after viewing your last Drupal exploit video. Awesome. Yeah, that was a fun one. The last time there was a big Drupal exploit was 7.31. 7.32 is when they fixed it, I think. And that one was basically, you can just send a request with the weird form entry, and you can create an admin account with no credentials. And that one was even worse because you didn't have to have a special REST API turned on. It was just like everything was vulnerable. They said if you didn't patch in 8 hours, assume you got hacked. Okay, so I almost feel like I want to like wipe out everything I have and start over with this. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take another quick break. I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break and collect my wits and stretch, and I'm gonna think about what I want to do. I might just call it, but I might give this a little more work to get it where I want, because I'm a little disappointed in the state that it's in right now because of these weird cases where, like, okay, it'll let you list all of the bookmarks, even the ones that don't belong to you, if you just ask for the full list. But if you ask for a specific one, it won't. Well, we fixed that by fixing the query set, not in the permissions. And then I limited it so you can only see your own, but you were able to create ones for other people. And when we tried to update it so that you couldn't create ones for other people, you didn't have the reference to the user object to set it. So it's just like, oh man. Where, like, it's becoming this big rat's nest of, oh, if you want to deny this, you do that one in the model permissions, but this one you do over here with the query filter, and then this one you do with a permission class. So you've got these permission things scattered all over the place. So maybe the best way would be to not use Django model permissions at all and control it all through the permission classes. I don't know. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to think about it. Give me 5 and I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. Let's see. So where were we? We were getting a grasp on all of this Django REST framework stuff. And that's exactly what's happening. I'm starting to get a grasp on it. You know, I was just talking about how the permissions are all scattered. And it's like some of the restrictions are being done with the query set. Some of the restrictions are being done with these permission classes. Some of them are being handled by the model permissions. So I think what I'd like to do is do something like this. So I want to deny all endpoints by default. Okay, and then only allow login for anonymous users. And maybe register. We'll just go with login for now. So, and then once you're logged in, you can only create bookmarks for your user. You can only modify or list your own bookmarks. And then you can also modify your user account. Okay. I think that's good. We'll start with nothing and then just work towards exactly what we need. And so what I'm gonna do here is, okay, so local user is good. That just gives us a user class that we can work with. I'm gonna close all of these windows. Okay, then in our URLs, yeah, we have these ones that we did from the tutorial earlier. And so I'm gonna comment those out. I'm gonna comment all of this out. I'm gonna comment this one out. Okay. Okay. So now we've started pretty much fresh. In fact, if we go in here, yeah, the model is still okay. Actually, I wasn't happy with the text field. I wanted the care fields. I guess it doesn't matter for this example. Text field's fine. And then views. Okay, so views, I want to clean this one up too. I may uncomment some of this stuff and use it, but I'm basically going to comment everything out and kind of start over. Because I didn't like the way I had set it up. Which is okay, because it's our very first time going through the tutorial, learning how it all works, so now that I have a grasp, I can architect this a little bit better. And so we start with the model. Okay, we've got this thing, and we're gonna need some views. We're going to need a create new bookmark. We're going to need... Actually, we don't even need an edit, right? They're never going to edit the GPS bookmark. Well, maybe they will. Maybe they're going to need to change the description. Edit bookmark, delete bookmark. I was thinking maybe the best approach would be to do the function-based one, considering that would give you a little more control over each one. Okay, quick start. We did the quick start. And then there was a tutorial. Yeah, this is where we were, so let's see. Going back through the tutorial. Yeah. So we created that. Oh yeah, so we do need a serializer for our bookmarks. And actually that's fine. Latitude, longitude, and we don't need the user because it's always going to belong to your user. So that's fine. We've got our serializer. Okay, so that section is good too. And we are using a model serializer, yeah. So that's all good. Okay, so the serializer stuff is all good. And I'm happy with that, how that is. So tutorial 2 requests and responses, in that section they talked about how to access the data and how to return the data. So the response objects, which is a type of template response that takes unrendered content and it will determine the correct content type to return. Okay. Wrapping API views. Yeah, so this is... Maybe I'll start with the function one. I like the class one, but I skipped the step of doing the function one first and then converting it like the tutorial said. So I'm going to try doing it a little more like the tutorial says this time. Putting it all together, yeah. So snippet list. Okay, so let's go into the views here, and let's say list bookmarks. So what did they do? API view, and then we'll call this one list bookmarks, and that's only going to be a get. And this is going to be bookmark.object.filter self request.user user equals request.user. Okay, so what about the pagination? Okay, I think the serializer helps. I think the serializer takes care of the pagination. And to confirm, we did set some of that in the settings file. Default pagination class, page size. Okay, so it doesn't specify where it happens. Okay, so I was in the views. I was creating this list bookmarks. So the user bookmarks, they're going to be that, and then we return a response. Snippet serializer. Okay, so return a response of the bookmark serializer of the user bookmarks. Many equals true. I'm not sure what that does. Maybe it just says there are many. Okay. So now that page should list the user bookmarks. Now how do I wire that up? Do I want to use, yeah, just the URL pattern? Okay, so back in the URLs, I'll want to do something like API/bookmarks. And that's going to be bookmarks.views.list bookmarks. Okay, so does that work? No, cannot import named bookmark view set. Wait, that's just a bad import. Okay. Okay. Bookmark has no views. Import bookmarks. Okay, I think that will do it. Now if we check out API/bookmarks, cannot apply Django model permissions on one that doesn't have a query set. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. The view does not set query set or have a... Hold on a second. Then how come theirs works? That's all they're doing. Return serializer.data. Was that the problem? Bookmark serializer. Yeah, okay. Let me try returning the data.data. Oh. /API/bookmarks. No, same thing. Okay, so my view, I guess that the decorator is the one that's adding all this stuff. Well, I thought this would be an easier route to go. But see, like they're not setting a query set here. Right? That's why it's confusing, because they're just wiring up this view function right to the URLs, just like I am. But how come theirs isn't complaining about? Well, it doesn't. Okay, it's my permission class that's complaining. They don't have one at all. They were doing it without it. I guess that's why. So it's really my settings that it's complaining about. I just have to now allow everybody read-only to make it happy. No, same thing. Boy, oh boy. This framework is really making my life easier, let me tell ya. Mythic says good night and good luck. Thanks, man. Have a good one. Alright. I don't know if maybe it's their documentation that I'm not... Maybe it's this tutorial I'm not liking. API guide. Authentication. Oh boy. Well, I learned a lot, and I learned how much I do and don't like this framework. Again, I can't say it's fair if I only give it one day to look at it. So I think this is going to warrant another deep dive. Maybe I'll have to go through the whole tutorial again with all of the knowledge that I've learned, because this is a pretty complex framework. Writing regular Django views using the serializer. Yeah, so this is pretty much exactly what I just did a second ago. And they don't say anything about setting a query set. I guess they're still just doing the allow anybody, just allow anonymous, allow everybody. Alright guys, well I think I'm gonna call it on this one. I was able to get pretty far and learn how to do all this stuff, but I'm gonna have to think long and hard about this, whether I want to use this or not. Because my biggest concern is like, okay, so I used to have to do a lot of Drupal development. And Drupal is one of those frameworks that can work against you really hard. It's just, sometimes it really wants to do things this way, and if you want to do it a different way, you're really just out of luck. And this framework, Django already locks you into a lot of stuff. I mean, you don't have to use it, but it's very opinionated, and adding this layer on top of it, it's pretty much their way, and that's it. So, who knows? I'll give it another chance, but for now, I'm leaning towards way over-architected, too many features, but at the same time, like, some of these features it has are really nice. Like, okay, well, it's got things like throttling, but you can do that. Excuse me, you can do that with like Nginx. You know, I don't even necessarily know if I want my throttling. Well, it would be nice at the app level, because then you can control the throttling per user. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is really figuring out these permissions. And the problem that I had is, like, they're just wacky. You could list all of them and see other people's, but you couldn't view them directly. You can create them for other people, but you can't view them. And so that's going to require a lot of delicate thought and delicate testing to make sure that people can't do anything they're not supposed to. And if I have to worry that much about it, I might as well implement something where I do have a little more control confidently. I don't know, I think I may just be tired tonight. So I'm gonna let it be for tonight. I'm gonna think about it. Maybe there's another good REST API framework. You don't really see, the thing about it is you don't really need a framework for making a REST API, because they're so simple at the core, really. You define all your endpoints, and you only have a couple things about the endpoint: is the authorization and the authentication, which will happen at every one. And I kind of would almost rather just be explicit about each one. Okay, well, I'm not gonna do any more thinking out loud here right now, so I'm just gonna say thanks for everybody who came out, and if you guys have any thoughts or opinions on this Django REST framework, let me know. Let me know if you have any experience with it, and whether it's been a lifesaver, or it's been okay, or you hated it, or what. But maybe I'll finish this another night. Otherwise, I hope you all enjoyed the journey with us checking out Django REST framework. Oh, maybe I'll show you the React app I built yesterday. Can I pop open my virtual device? Yeah, there it is. I think I still have it installed, so all I have to do is pop it open. And basically, this is the app that I was trying to build a backend for. And honestly, like, if I was using Flask, I could have started from scratch and built the whole backend for this in Flask and probably have been done already in the 3 hours and 15 minutes. But it wouldn't have any of the features that the Django REST framework would, like that really nice HTML browser. Yeah, so this is it. It's really ugly, but it's made in React Native, and whenever you hit save GPS, it actually saves your GPS location into the internal database. And that's why I wanted to add an API backend so that we can actually store it somewhere and list them out to the people and things like that. So yesterday was more an exercise in learning React Native and learning how to access things like GPS from the phone. And today was exploring Django REST framework to see if that would be a good solution for implementing a REST backend for a mobile app or for a React web app or an Electron app or whatever, you know. So that was the plan. And again, it's a very, very, very complex framework. But it seems well written. So I'm gonna have to give it another chance. I think there's just too much information for me to try and sit down and learn in one sitting and give it a fair shake. So thanks for bearing with me. I hope you guys learned something too, and have a good night.